All right, so we're diving deep today into something pretty important when it comes to, well, machinery.
Yeah.
How to make sure those machines are, properly guarded.
Absolutely.
We're talking safety here, and I know you shared with me a transcript from a PowerSafe Automation video.
Yeah, really good one.
And it seems like a great place to kind of get down to the nuts and bolts of how you would actually do a best practice machine guarding assessment.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And it's not just about checking boxes, right?
No, no, not at all.
It's really about keeping people safe, but also making sure that things can actually run smoothly, in a real world setting.
Right. Well, and that's actually, a really important point because I think a truly effective assessment isn't just about going through some checklist.
Right.
It's about really understanding how the machine is used in the real world and how people interact with it.
So the transcript starts out talking about an initial onset review, and there's this phrase that pops up that I thought was kind of interesting. A collaborative assessment led by a sales engineer. What does that actually look like on the ground?
Well, it's really interesting because it's not just someone coming in and, ticking boxes on a form.
Right.
They actually emphasize in this video having conversations with the people who operate the machines every day,
Huh.
the operators and the maintenance teams.
Oh, that makes sense.
These are the folks who know how the machine actually works in practice, and they're going to be aware of potential issues or quirks that you wouldn't necessarily find in a manual.
I see what you mean. Like,
It's kind of like if you were trying to design a better race car without talking to the driver and the pit crew,
right.
you'd be missing out on some really crucial information.
Yeah, exactly. You need that practical insight.
Right.
And the transcript actually uses this phrase, and I thought it was really interesting. They're trying to find the best way for production and safety to work together.
Yeah, that's a great point because that's often the real challenge, isn't it?
It sounds like a tough balancing act.
It can be.
Uh-huh.
I mean, sometimes a guard might seem perfectly safe on paper, but then in practice,
Yeah.
it makes routine maintenance a real pain, which could lead to people, taking shortcuts or bypassing it altogether.
Right.
So these discussions are really about trying to prevent those scenarios
Hmm.
by designing solutions that are both protective and practical.
So they're not just looking at, like, is there a guard there or not?
Right.
They're looking at all these other things. And actually, the transcript lists some of the things that they're assessing during the site visit.
Okay.
And they mention machine hazards, which is kind of obvious.
Oh, yeah.
But then they also mention functional safety stop time distance,
Right.
machine acquisition, and ergonomic safety.
That's right.
Why is it important to look at all those different angles right from the start?
Well, I think if you zoom out and look at the bigger picture,
Yeah.
each of those elements plays a really important role.
Okay.
So machine hazards are obviously the immediate risks of someone getting hurt.
Right.
But functional safety stop time distance,
Mm-hmm.
that's about how quickly the machine can stop after a safety system is triggered.
Oh, so it's like,
So you can think of it like the reaction time you need to brake your car before hitting an obstacle.
okay.
It needs to be calculated really precisely based on how fast someone can reach the hazard.
Gotcha. So that makes sense.
Machine acquisition. That's interesting because it considers factors like how old the machine is, what it was originally designed for,
Mhm.
or even whether it's a new piece of equipment or something that's been repurposed,
Okay.
which can obviously impact the safety requirement.
Right.
And then ergonomic safety looks at how the guards and the machine itself interact with the operator's body.
Interesting.
So you're trying to prevent things like repetitive strain injuries or awkward postures.
Oh, so they're really thinking holistically.
Exactly, trying to take a really comprehensive view.
Yeah, and the transcript mentions they're collecting all sorts of data during the site visit. Concept sketches with measurements, photos, and video and stop behaviors.
Right.
Why is all that documentation so important?
Well, it's kind of like gathering all the raw materials for the next stage. The sketches and measurements, they give the design team a really clear picture of the physical layout.
Right.
The photos and videos show how the machine operates in real time, where the hazards are located.
I see.
And then the stop behavior analysis
Mm.
that feeds directly into calculating that stop time distance we talked about.
Uh,
So it's all about giving the engineers the information they need to design effective solutions.
so it's like gathering intelligence.
Exactly.
And then they actually use the phrase engineering process in the transcript as the next step.
That's right.
So the on-site visit is about understanding, and then the engineers take it from there.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the transcript's a little bit vague on this part.
Right. It just says the data goes to the design team.
Right.
But you can kind of imagine them taking all this information and using it to design the actual safety measures.
Oh, absolutely.
Choosing materials, figuring out access points for maintenance,
Right, all the practical detail.
and how those guards will integrate with the machine's controls.
And always keeping that balance in mind.
Yeah, that balance between safety and production.
Exactly.
Now, the video does actually give some contact information for PowerSafe Automation.
Right.
They mention their website, powersafeautomation.com, and a phone number, 8-44520-SAFE.
Yeah, that's great for folks who want to learn more.
Absolutely. So if this is something that you're dealing with in your own work, that's a resource you can check out.
Absolutely.
So to kind of wrap up our deep dive here,
Yep.
a machine guarding assessment done right is really a multifaceted process.
Yep.
It starts with getting out on site, talking to the people who actually work with the machines day in and day out.
Right.
And then all that information feeds into the design process where engineers come up with safety measures that are both effective and practical.
It really underscores that the best solutions come from collaboration and understanding the real-world context.
And it makes me wonder,
Yeah.
we've seen how valuable it is to get input from operators and maintenance teams in the safety design process.
Right.
But what if we applied that same approach more broadly?
Oh, that's interesting.
What if we involved those frontline perspectives from the very beginning when we're designing any kind of system or process? Could that lead to better outcomes in other industries too?
That's a fascinating thought because I think so often design happens in isolation
Yeah.
without really considering the people who will be most affected by it.
Well, food for thought. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Yeah, this was great.
Until next time.
See you then.